The 365 Pro Wrestling Podcast. 365 Nation in just 2 days. 365 Pro Wrestling ignites. Yes, January 10th, we are at the Willow Point Lions Club in Campbell River for our debut event. And then the next night, January 11th, we'll be at the Comox Band Hall in Courtenay, BC for our next event. So join us. Tickets are sold online. They're sold on Adrenaline Toys. They're also sold day of at the event at the venue. So if you need tickets, you're covered. All you have to do is check out www.365prowrestling.com and hit the event page, and you're going to find all that information there. All right, we're going to jump right into it today because I have another longer interview. This time, we're talking with Eli Surge.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm joined right now by the man laughing at me because I already messed up. But you won't know it because I'm cutting it out, so you just think he's laughing at me. Yes, it's Eli Surge.
How's it going, man?
Better. It's going good. But as most people know by now, I'm going right into this thing. Heavy questions. As most people know right now, you had to take several months off due to rare blood disease. But you've recently returned to the ring. How do you feel, like physically and mentally? Because being out that far, it's got to hurt the body. And then just mentally, you're going through so much. So tell me what you're thinking and how you're feeling.
Physically, it was really difficult to just have to deal with the pain every single day. Pain that I didn't inflict on myself voluntarily by falling down. So it's a steady process of getting better. There's still things I have to work with. There's a dissipating arthritis basically right now, so I just have to warm up and cool down properly, and I can manage that. Mentally, it was a roller coaster. I went through phases where I wasn't sure if I was ever going to feel better. I went through phases where I thought about just never trying to come back to wrestling because I thought I'd never even be able to, come back to normal life. And then there were days where I'd sit down and I'd look up matches, say, well, someone that's going to be with a 365 pretty soon, Brody King matches. I'd look up his stuff and I'd see what he does, and I'd put myself in a match with him and plan out an entire match just sitting there in my room because I had nothing else to do, and I just wanted to do the mental process of it.
That's pretty amazing. And maybe that's what some people should do. Some of these guys who want to get into bigger matches, think about what they do with these guys who are already established.
I did a camp, and Steve Corino was one of the guest people there, and he was saying, if you're ever called to the WWE and on your first day they tell you, all right, you need to cut a promo on Finn Balor, you better be ready to cut a promo on Finn Balor. So always be thinking about where you're going to go, where you're trying to go, and what you're trying to do with that place.
I think Steve Corino is underrated. He's one of the best minds in pro wrestling, and a genuine dude all around.
Well, he was super cool to be around, yeah.
So before you got sick, you and Judas were really getting established in Defy as a tag team. So I know that was a big blow. You guys had to bow out of some bookings. But just this past Friday, you got to return, and you had a huge matchup. I'm going to call him Guillermo, and his partner was Psychosis. It's
Yes,
how big a return is that? That's amazing.
Oh, I was nervous for weeks, man. It was huge to come back and to go straight to something like that. It was funny explaining that to people in my family who aren't wrestling fans. They're like, he's just an old guy that wears a mask. Why are you so nervous about this? It's like, no. There's a lot more to it than that. And he was a very cool guy. Talking to him before the match, he sat down and he drank a Coke and ate a Kit Kat, and we just talked, and Guillermo translated some stuff, and we went over, ideas. And I mean, I don't know how kayfabe you want this, but
you can say anything you want on here, sir.
Yeah, it was really cool to sit with him and see the wheels turning in his head as he tried to put stuff together with us too. Yeah, it was pretty devastating when I got sick to have to pull out of so much stuff, because Defy had the Super 8GXP, I think it was called, and from a hospital bed have to just sit and hear about Judas wrestling Matt Cross, and then the next night him going on and doing great things as well, instead of being there and supporting him in that, and then possibly having something for ourselves. So that was another mental thing that I had to deal with. Yeah, it was great to be back though. The Defiance was rad. I was super stoked at the end. Everyone was cheering. I took the leg drop from Psychosis off the top rope and was limping out. He called us back into the ring, shook our hands and said, "Great job." And then people started throwing money at us. And I promptly used that money to buy all the Taco Bell I could.
That is amazing. Is money getting thrown in a ring one of these things nowadays? I'm an old guy. I don't know all the what's cool and what's happening now.
From what I've seen, it's generally more with lucha wrestlers, but I've seen it. Well, Judas has a thing for it now because he's an okay wrestler. So it's just fans showing their appreciation for the match. And yeah, he had money thrown into the ring after a match he had with Big Hurt Alan Jepson at 3-2-1 Battle. And fuck that guy, right? Not Alan Jepson, Judas.
Damn. Said anything. He's shooting everywhere, people. No, it's good though. So it sounded like they really gave you a hell of a ovation too. Like it must have just been felt good to be getting that response when you were gone for so long. Because people think, do they still remember me? I'm an indie guy. It's one of those things. So it was pretty awesome for me to see them give you such a response.
Mm-hmm. I was a little nervous coming out of the curtain because they have seen Judas for the past 6 months that I've been out, but they got up and they clapped and they cheered for us. I mean, nothing compared to Psychosis, of course, because it's motherfucking Psychosis. But yeah, it was nice to get out there and do that thing again.
Hell yeah. And then, so now it's a new year, it's 2020. Does that give you new goals, or is it just because you're back in wrestling? Do you have any new goals?
Oh, I certainly have. I mean, truth be told, after the Defy show, one of the producers sat us down and actually had us write out goals, not just for Defy, but for wrestling in 2020. So I'm pretty prepared for this question. I've got small goals that range like, getting 3 new sets of gear. I just bought plane tickets to go down to Tampa for Wrestlemania weekend, so I've got a goal of it getting booked on at least 3 shows while I'm down there. I put a goal in of communicating injuries and weaknesses better. There were a few more on that list, mostly pertaining to getting in better shape, but yeah.
I really like the injury and weaknesses one, because sometimes people don't speak up if they don't. Like, I eat a really shitty double hip toss. I land on my brains every time. So when someone's like, "Hey, can we hit you guys with a double hip toss?" I'm like, "No." I'm like, "You can, but I'm gonna die. It's gonna look terrible. So what about a double back body drop?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, we can give you that." I'm like, "Yes," but I think if I try very hard to not show any of my weaknesses when I'm in the ring. So talking to the guys now is a lot easier than it might have used to been when I was just nervous and scared to speak up a bit. But now I'll tell them what's on my mind, and I think that's something everyone should do. If you're not good at something, you shouldn't do it. You obviously keep practicing and training on it, but don't bring it out on a big show or a show when you're not comfortable.
And there's things where I just have mental blocks. Like, I have a hard time taking a hip toss. I don't know why. Almost every time I land poorly, I would rather take, anything going backwards. I just hate doing that front flip.
That's crazy, because you're pretty athletic. Actually, you can roll really well. So that's kind of funny. Not funny, but to me, it's one of those mental blocks, like you said. My trainers used to say, like, one day it'll just happen, and they'll be like, "Oh, okay, I got it," and that actually happened for me, and it took time, but it all works. Wrestling's so unique, and it's amazing what we do in the ring and how we do it, and sometimes how we get in our own heads and can't do something that's very easy. It's tough for us.
Like, I'll hit a moonsault off the top rope, but I'd rather miss that and land on my face than take a hip toss.
Jesus. I'm not sure if everyone's aware or not, but you trained under Lance Storm. I believe the story was you didn't even know who he was when you started training, right?
I knew of him.
Okay.
I had never seen a match of his.
That's what it was.
And I had never been to an independent wrestling show before I started training.
And what made you go to his school then?
I'm still a big podcast listener, and I was listening to an interview, I believe it was with Bubba Ray, where he was talking about probably his school, and saying that if you train under someone who hasn't been anywhere, why would you expect to go somewhere when they don't know how to get there?
Yep.
So I kind of thought about that, and I looked up schools in Canada because I knew I'm a broke ass bitch, and if I go to America, I can't work. So I got to do something in Canada. And the closest one that I found with a name that I had heard of was Lance Storm in Calgary. So I looked at that, and I honestly, for a few years, I looked at it, and I was dating a girl at the time, and she said to just do it because I never commit to anything. This is a big slam from her. So I put the deposit in that day and started saving up money and planning the move out there. And yeah.
Did you keep her right and not commit with her, and you went and left for wrestling?
I moved to Calgary with her.
Very nice.
Yeah. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So, what did you take from the Storm Wrestling Academy? Like, yes, you got trained, but what kind of knowledge bombs did he drop on you that you still keep with you today?
Ooh.
We're using big words like knowledge bombs.
Knowledge bomb next to the dictionary, and buckle bomb. Power bomb. Yeah. I think Storm gave me a good foundation and made me really think about professionalism everywhere I go. He, along with people along the way, have mentioned how if you're showing up to a place the first time and you're dressed in your Zubas and your stringer tees or whatever, people are just going to think you're not taking this seriously. And that's not always the case, especially now, but it's something that I always like to think about. So that he focused so much on the basics, saying how once you have this, you can go out and you can learn how to do a backflip, you can learn how to do all the fancy stuff. But if you don't have the footwork and you don't know how to take these certain things, such as an arm drag and give a drop kick, take a drop kick, that kind of stuff, you won't go anywhere.
I think it's true too. Like, the foundation is what everyone needs. You need your fundamentals, and then you're going to go out and you're going to learn a lot. And I also think you really did take that to heart, because you showed up to every show in either collared shirt, dress shirt. You're always looking snazzy, looking the part. And I thought that was really good, because back in the day, Reggie was all about that too. Reggie Marley, he's one of my role models. He's somebody I look up to. And we started doing that for a while, but then I was always doing ring crew, so I'm like, can't show up like this. And then I get so dirty, I'm sweating everywhere. So don't do that.
Yeah, I ran into that issue too.
But it was definitely something that he instilled in me, and I believe it's true, because when I go to a promotion I've never worked for, I don't want to just be regular Eddie. I want to look a little bit different. So
you dress up like your brother Michael B, and you put the glasses on and the collared shirt. Yeah.
You know it. But this is just a short podcast. We're only going like 10 to 12 minutes. So I'm going to wrap it up, but I want to ask you, where can people find you? Where will they find you online? When are your next, like, PW 365? Like, where are your dates? Where can they find your dates for everything?
I gotta post my dates somewhere. On Twitter and Instagram, I'm Real Eli Surge. Facebook, Eli Surge. I have a fan page and a personal page there. Let's see. My next date is going to be January 24th. I'm in Kelowna. January 31st, I'm in Vancouver for Rickshaw Wrestling. That's going to be a crazy show. February 8th, I'm in Bellingham for 5cc. I believe I'm teaming with you for that.
Yeah, we're tagging. I just heard about this yesterday. So that's cool.
Yeah, those are the next 3 ones coming up. Of course, I'll be at Ballroom Brawl. Don't have a match scheduled as of yet. But that's a big show for the year, so we're gonna, I'm gonna be around, and we'll see what happens.
Very much so.
And then, yeah.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I'm sure we'll have you on again, and I hope you have a great 2020.
Thanks, man.
All right, man. Thanks so much.
Again, that was one of our longer episodes. It just, sometimes these guys are talking and I can't stop enjoying the conversation so much and thinking you guys are enjoying it, so it goes a little bit longer than the usual time. But thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening to the Eli Surge episode, and I hope you guys come out January 10th and 11th to Campbell River and Courtney. Take care. Good night. 365 Nation. Peace.